Whereas the Peoria Sunday Morning League was established in 1916 by local businesses, 2015 will mark the 100th season. And whereas the Peoria Sunday Morning League is recognized as being the oldest amateur baseball league in America that is still in continuous operation. And whereas the league has had thousands of players play over the past 100 years and has entertained even more fans. And whereas coaches, umpires, and business sponsors have been integral to the success and longevity of the league. And whereas the league has produced 46 players who have played in Major League Baseball. And whereas strong competition and sportsmanship have been emphasized over the century. Now, therefore, I, Jim Thome, Mayor of the City of Peoria, Illinois, do hereby congratulate the Peoria Sunday Morning League on their 100th consecutive season in Peoria, Illinois.
I can remember waking up Sunday mornings, going to the ball game. Hot summer mornings, we had a picnic. You know, Mom would have the blanket. We'd be sitting down there. We'd be cheering them on and eating candy, watching my older brother play. Didn't even know much about baseball at that time, but we were going to Sunday morning league games.
I remember driving by the park with, being in the family car, maybe going to church or something and seeing games going on, and didn't really know too much about it.
I probably saw my first Sunday Morning League game 80 years ago. My dad and I would drive out, park the car, and watch what was then Bradley number 2 Diamond. We never watched the whole game. We watched 3 or 4 innings, then we would go home. I was only 7 or 8 years old. I didn't know who won. In those days, I was just starting to get interested in sports.
And of course, you played 2 games at Bradley Park, 2 games at Glen Oak, but there was 4 teams at each park, and that was what really made it interesting.
As a high school player in the late 60s, early 70s, all of us who played competitive baseball idolized the guys that were in the Sunday Morning League.
Art and I both knew that no matter what we did on Saturday night, we better be ready to play ball Sunday morning.
In the off season, it's kind of like, I wouldn't call it a free-for-all, but every manager can go out and basically recruit or get anybody they want. You know, if they know of a guy who moved to town or something that played baseball where he was from, you know, they started working with the guy, they can say, hey, you want to play on my team? And there you go, you know. You can also, you know, there's local colleges around here that have rosters that you can look at and say, hey, he's from, you know, East Peoria, maybe he'd like to play this summer.
The youngsters that I happen to be managing this summer also play on a college team that I'm an assistant for during the springtime. So it's a pretty unique opportunity to get to play with your players. It's almost like a throwback type of deal where you got managers playing, player coaches. It doesn't happen a lot, you know, I guess in the modern era, if you will, but you can do it in the Sunday Morning League, so we take full advantage.
We're talking with Daryl Klusendorf and Tim Cundiff. They are both with Sunday Morning League Baseball. How did it all get going?
There were 6 businesses who developed the idea for this league. They called it the Peoria Commercial League. And so the businesses would wanted to have an extracurricular activity for their employees, and they got a group of guys who had a love for the game of baseball, wanted to play in an organized fashion, and the league began.
What names over the years will be recognized?
You know, Zack Monroe was a part of the league. Bill Tuttle played in the outfield alongside of Al Kaline. Played in the Sunday Morning League. Guy Hoffman, Joe Girardi, Jim Thome. All these guys, their first opportunity to play against men was in the Sunday Morning League. You know, a lot of guys are pretty good high school players and they think they're king of the hill, and then you start playing against guys that got pro experience in
Yeah,
military.
that's a good point. Yeah, the guys are 28, 29, 30 years old is a lot different than a 17-year-old.
It's the first time out here. It's a little chilly, but once it warms up, I'm sure it'll start feeling better, and I just can't wait for the season to get going.
Currently, the league is more of a collegiate, I would say, probably the 30 and under. So a lot of guys, local college athletes, this is their summer league. We've got some kids right out of high school, and then we've got some veterans in our 30s and even touching 40.
Playing high school ball since March, so this is the first time I got to take some swings with the wood bat, so it was kind of different, a little heavier, I guess.
I had talked to Brian Quinn and said when my son got to the age he's ready to play, I'd like him to play Sunday Morning League, and he talked to me last winter of 2013-14.
He approached me, Donnie, I'd played for Donnie for, however many years he stuck around with managing in the Sunday Morning League, and I didn't do it as a favor. I did it because, okay, Brady's probably pretty good. Donnie was good. Brady's young, but he's probably good enough to play in our league. So I said, sure, yeah. Came out to the practice, the first day or whatever in the spring, and I said, Donnie, you know what this means, right? This means you have to play too. I didn't say it over the phone to him that day, but when he came out to practice, I said, that means you got to play too. I want you to play.
So from that day forward, I've been playing again.
To kick off the season, we're having a ceremony banquet down at the Civic Center, and it's called a tribute to the Sunday Morning League, a century of baseball. It's going to be a great night to gather together. Baseball fans, former players, current players, alumni, sponsors will be there, and just a day of camaraderie about baseball.
A century of baseball, a tribute to the Peoria Sunday Morning League, is going to happen at the Peoria Civic Center, 5:30 at the Civic Center Ballroom on May 4th. But if you're a baseball fan, this is going to be a great evening of memories. And it's nice that we're celebrating baseball around town.
What better place to pay tribute to America's pastime and America's game for this historic 100 years of this league than right here in our all-America city of Peoria. It is this community support that makes possible the following statement. The Peoria Sunday Morning League is the oldest amateur baseball league in America. Baseball is a game. It's a game that we learned as kids. And with a league like the Sunday Morning League, we have the opportunity to continue playing this game, this kids' game, even as adults. We should consider ourselves very lucky to have had the Sunday Morning League available to us. There's not many places that have such a league. Not many places have a league with such tradition. It's a kids' game, all right? And I want to make sure that this league is still around when my kids are playing the game of baseball.
My mom started me when I was 6 playing t-ball. I remember it in Creve Coeur. I was the Dodgers, except we were orange for some reason. The Dodgers are out, obviously blue, but I don't know what they had going on over there in Creve Coeur that made us orange. But yeah, I can remember playing t-ball way back then, and I've played every spring and every summer since, and just love it.
I had a brother that was a year older, and we grew up in the great Yankee era, Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra and, Whitey Ford and that group. And so we just fell into it. And we were, my first recollection was, playing Little League at about 8 years old.
I remember sandlot ball, and I was a dead pull hitter. And one of the reasons was when we played sandlot ball, you had to make up your own rules. You didn't have enough kids. So right field was out. If you hit the ball to right field, you were out. So you had to pull everything.
Today, as we begin our 100th season, we are still a league supported by local businesses. Although players in the league are no longer necessarily employees of those businesses, as was the tradition in early days, these sponsors still fulfill the original mission, to allow young men the opportunity to play an organized game of baseball at a high level. The original mission was twofold, one being to allow the aspiring young athlete a chance to compete and prepare for a potential future professional baseball career. And the second, to provide the avenue for a veteran player to continue playing the game that he loves. Every day is a new challenge, it's a new event, it's a new journey. Baseball is the greatest metaphor for life. Every game, every inning, every pitch, you never know what's gonna happen. It's always exciting, it's always engaging. After 100 years, it still captivates us. We still love it. Sometimes we think we know exactly what's gonna happen. Usually we're wrong. Something completely surprises us. That's what makes this the greatest game. That's what makes this the American pastime.
After your college days are over, the nice thing about living in Peoria is you had an opportunity to play in a highly competitive, organized baseball league. And the commitment was intense, but the travel was limited. So, I mean, guys with jobs and kids could still continue to pursue their love of the game.
You know, I played college baseball, and it's just it's kind of depressing that when guys that I played with in college just say, nah, I'm not gonna play anymore. Well, why did you play in the first place, you know? I mean, you loved playing the game, you stuck it out through high school and college, and then now just because you're out of school, have a job, I mean, you just don't wanna play anymore? I just never understood that. You know, it's just, you know, I can't imagine a spring or a summer without playing baseball, and I don't want to.
Come summertime, the boys are back in town.
You know, it's good to be back out. I know a lot of us were itching to get outside and do something besides working or studying or whatever it is that we're doing right now. So, you know, I guess the biggest thing is just kind of something that we can kind of go back in time a little bit, because we're all out here just playing a game and, you know, enjoying ourselves, not worrying about anything else for a couple of hours. So it's definitely nice to have that a couple times a week right now. So
I love coming out here, regardless of the team. I don't think I've played for probably four or five clubs in this league now, and I don't think I've ever had a bad time on any of them. Like I said, this for me is just it's a passion in my life. It's a hobby. You know, it just makes me better at everything I do. It seems to be when I'm involved with baseball.
we got a lot of new guys, we got some old guys, so it's a mix. But you know, it takes a little time for that to gel because we don't really practice or anything like that. So we kind of piece it together in May and hope to figure it out in June.
Opening day, you're always a little rusty. Takes a couple weeks to kind of get the timing down and, you know, your body feeling right. We got some good pitchers that aren't here. A couple junior college guys. The guy that we just threw last game, he'd been talking to me all off season saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna be ready." Well, he pitched his butt off and it was great. And you can tell he just really loves the game and battled. And we got some good sticks. We'll be all right. We'll be in the thick of things.
We're just excited to be here, first year program. It's a historic league. We feel privileged to be a part of it, coming off a pretty good year ourselves, and we're just hoping to keep the momentum rolling and continue it through the summer and end on a good note.
You know, hopefully we can win it in the 100th year. That'd be pretty neat. It's been a few years since we have won the league, so obviously that's the goal of playing out here, is trying to win every game, so that's what we're going to try and do.
So I hear the pitching was good.
Yeah, he was okay. No, he came out. We needed to make a statement day one, and I think 16 Ks and a 3-1 win. I feel like that was a good opening day for us.
Chase Real Estate Reds, 2015 champs this year. It's going to be a great rest of the season. Hopefully it plays out in our favor, but got to take it one game at a time.
All right, so you're calling it right now.
Calling it right now. All right now.
The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville Nine that day. I play the character the Mighty Casey from Casey at the Bat. I grew up here in Peoria, but after college I went away and became Director of Research at the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York from 1995 to 2014. You know, there was a great sociologist from France named Jacques Barzin who moved to America, and in 1954 he said, "Whoever wants to know the heart and mind of America had better learn baseball. And he should do it first by watching some high school or small town teams. So I tell you what, when you get right up close to the game the way you can in a place like Peoria, the game is so much better. And these guys can play ball. I worked as the director of research at the Baseball Hall of Fame for 20 years, and I'm a native Peorian. And one day down in the archives, I found a piece of handwritten sheet music called Peoria, I Hear You Calling. And this sheet music was from 1936, never published, but was performed in 1935 at the annual Baseball Writers' Dinner in New York City. This song is about the Cardinal farm system, and the Cardinals, as you probably know, invented the farm system. Prior to the Cardinals putting that together in the 1930s, right when this song was written, all the different minor league teams just sold their players to any major league team that wanted them. And the Cardinals were the first to kind of follow almost a Detroit model and sort of vertically integrate and try to produce players instead of just finding them. And so that's what this song is about, with a touch of humor about Peoria's role as kind of an all-American city.
I was drafted in 2000 out of high school by the St. Louis Cardinal organization. Went down a spring training site where I've never been before. It was unbelievable opportunity. Met Mark McGwire, who is one of my idols growing up. I mean, Big Mac hits homers. I love hitting home runs, and that's what I did in high school. And I started my career, my season in 2003 here in Peoria, and was here half of 04. That team, when I played here, was stacked. Chris Duncan was on it. Yadier Molina, everybody knows him. Jason Mott, played with him. Man, there's so many of them on that team. I've run it through my head over and over and over again. Looking back at it, I probably should have went to college for 3 years and played baseball because, hell, I might have gotten even better in college. Might have signed a big contract. Who knows? But, that's not what it was about for me. I just wanted to play for the love. Obviously didn't work out, but I ended up staying around. I got a job with the city of East Peoria and paid well, and still here. Another year or two went by, and I had talked to Doug and Quinn, and they asked me to come play, and I knew then after that first game I had butterflies in my stomach again. I was actually enjoying it, and I said, this is where I need to be, and I definitely enjoy it. I've been enjoying it since I've been with them. Great teammates, meeting new people all the time, and it's brought back the love of the game for me, that's for sure.
So the league kind of made a decision, after the 90s, 2000s, to pursue the younger players, the college players. And actually, it's a good plan because those players, may still have an opportunity to advance to a college program.
I probably would say that Sunday Morning League's competition is probably better now than it has been, probably even 50, 60, 70 years ago, because it's almost a collegiate league now. Guys like me are like dinosaurs. 34, I'm literally one of the top 5 oldest guys in the league. If I was playing 30 years ago and I was 34, I'd be one of the youngest guys in the league.
There's guys that played semi-pro ball in the league. There's guys that played, single A, double A. In some cases, one guy that pitched in the league in the last few years played in triple A. So it just depends on who you know and maybe who you've grown up with and who you can find. So it's a lot of talent.
I went to East Peoria High School, and then I played baseball at Bradley for 4 years. And after that, I played professionally in Italy for 3 years. So from 06 to 08, I played there. And then when I got done there, I probably still could have played out there, but getting married and getting a full-time job, it was like, okay, I got to put my priorities straight. But Sunday Morning League was there. So it was an easier transition for me to say, okay, I got to stop pursuing my dream of playing professionally and get a real job, I guess you could say a real job. But it was easier for me because I knew I could still play in the summer and be competitive.
College players, there's definitely some talent in this league which they can learn from and improve. And I think that's one of the big things for me. I think I tried the whole coaching thing, and it was really hard for me to sit there and just
try and teach them how to do things. I like to show kids how to do things. So for me, when we get these young kids in here, college kids, the kids in high school that are, their dreams are to make it to the big leagues, I like to talk to them on the field. If I make a mistake, I'll tell them, hey, this is what I did wrong. If they make a mistake, be like, hey, do this, do that. You just talk to them about the game. Try and help them grow so when they do start that next season, they have some more under their belt.
Playing with guys that have been in the league, or you brush shoulders to somebody that used to play professional baseball, you playing first base and John Santor gets a hit, and you're just talking to somebody just casual, just I'm talking to you right now, and it's somebody that's played professional baseball, been at that level. It's very surreal. It's very surreal to be with these guys, guys that have played at such a high level. And growing up, you don't really think about it, but then just kind of looking back, I'm sharing the field with these guys, and I know it's not professional baseball, but it feels close. It's the closest a lot of guys get to the real deal. And so you live your dreams on Sunday mornings, live your dreams on Wednesday nights, out there under the lights, and it's an amazing feeling.
My dad didn't play baseball. He played fast pitch softball, and back then fast pitch softball dominated the area. There was hundreds of teams, leagues everywhere, and that's what he played. He was a pitcher, and he'd bring me around to all his games, when they played in the evening times or the weekends, and I'd watch him play. But then he encouraged me to play baseball during the summertime.
My dad passed away last August of 14, and so my dad would come to all the games. My dad would keep score. He loved Sunday Morning League. He loved coaching me, and so for me it was a no-brainer to play baseball. And
when I was a little runt, 7, 8 years old, weighing about 20, 50 pounds maybe, it was my job to try to keep them high school kids from stealing baseballs at Glen Oak #2 and Bradley #2.
I was playing my junior year, and I needed a place to play in the summer, and I caught on with a Legion team in Pekin, and there our coach was Bill Severe, and Bill is actually Donnie Severe's dad, and so I'm playing on that team, and Donnie's helping to coach, and he kind of says, "Hey, you want to play some more baseball?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I do."
I was influenced by my grandpa. He played in 1958 with the New York Yankees team that had Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, Casey Stengel was the manager. And it's just mesmerizing, just looking back on it, hearing the stories, pitching at Fenway, striking out Ted Williams.
I was a terrible pitcher in baseball. I played third base. I could hit the ball, but we didn't have very good pitching. And so the coach says, well, why don't you try pitching? You throw hard, and and that's how things start. And that I never had a winning season at Woodruff in pitching and that, but I went to Bradley. Bradley actually has a basketball, baseball, because basketball was #1. Just to toot my horn a little bit, I was first team All-State in basketball, Chicago Daily newspaper and that. So that was quite a thing, and that got me a full ride scholarship at Bradley. And of course, it came in at a time at Bradley when they had some big guns, and all of a sudden, wasn't playing much baseball was starting to come a little bit more. I started to have a little more ability and did a little more things that kind of got me pretty much pitching all the time and not playing third. And that's kind of the way things went. I got most valuable player in 1951 in the Sunday Morning League. That was kind of, gratifying, and kind of felt pretty good about it when you feel out of all the teams and the players and that you got most valuable player. So I had a pretty good year that year. I always thought that a fastball and a curveball would get me by, but the first couple of years when I was in what they call the Eastern League, which was a Class A, and that was called the Binghamton Triplets. But while I was there, I did get off to a bad start, but I ran into Billy Bethel. I'll never forget him. He said, "Zach," he says, "did you ever try throwing a slider?" And I said, "No." I said, "I don't think I have." And he said, "Well, it might bother your curveball for a little while, but," he says, "it's an easy pitch to throw or an easy pitch to learn." And so he showed me, and he says, right at the very end, you end up letting go like you're throwing a football. In other words, you start out here, but when you get out here, this right here is where you turn your wrist. And you go like that. And that made the difference for me. That was what basically elevated me, I think, probably to the major leagues.
In our century with the Sunday Morning League, there have been 46 Peoria Sunday Morning League players who've gone on to play in the big leagues, to play in Major League Baseball at a variety of levels. Some played in minor league ball, and others made it to the big show and actually played in the big leagues. We've got several names on this esteemed list. And so there's no question that our league has been a good springboard for a variety of these players.
I mean, there were so many good players that went on and played professional baseball. And like I say, some of them came back after that.
So many really, really good ball players. And each team was just scattered with ex-professional ball players that come out of A ball and B ball. And it was the talent level was really, really high back then.
Each team had a professional list. These guys might have played 4 or 5 years before, but they're still on the pro list. One of the best was a pitcher from Central, Dick Wyke.
And they used to bring him in from Fort Leonard Wood. If Coens was playing Hiram Walkers, if Coens was playing Gips, they used to fly him in. I got a little story about him. They brought him in to face Hiram Walkers, and Wyke was just striking out everybody, and it was a close game. And my dad, he wasn't playing. He was on the roster, and he finally got all over Art. He said, "Come on, he just throwing a little bitty dinky curveball. Come on, jump on one of them things." And Art said, "Why don't you just show me how?" He gets up there, and first pitch, Wyke throws, he hits a double down the left field line Art told me, so, "Oh my God, dinner's gonna be horrible today at home."
Bill Tuttle came back from the major leagues back in the late 60s, early 70s. He played for Kansas City A's and the Detroit Tigers for 13 years. I mean, we were in awe. Here's a guy playing in the Sunday Morning League that still had the love of the game after playing in the major leagues for 13 years.
And to me, that said something when a guy like Bill Tuttle would want to come back after that many years in the majors and AAA baseball and still would come back and play in the league.
We always talk about, exposure camps and how do you get exposed to college and pro people? Well, Sunday Morning League provided that for many years for many people and still does.
Guy Hoffman got drafted right off the diamond, and he's not the only one.
There was guys signed right off of Glen Oak Park. I was there one day when Guy Hoffman signed with the White Sox. I was there when Eddie Matthews, current basketball coach out at Limestone, was a basketball player at Bradley and from Brimfield area. Eddie was signed by the Atlanta Braves by a friend of mine by the name of Stu Kahn.
Joe Girardi is a participant.
Joe Girardi, I was actually helping with the Peoria Pacers when he was going to Northwestern. And I knew the coach at Northwestern, and we, in fact, I even recommended them to him that I thought this was a boy that he should, because he was such a good student, such a good leader, and such a good catcher. Jim Thome, I was actually coaching at Central when he was playing at Limestone.
I was young, obviously, but there was older guys in the league that had the knowledge, that maybe didn't throw as hard as, say, the young kid out of college. But the thing that impressed me is you could see the passion and the love of those guys, and then you could see the talent of the young guys that were coming either out of high school or that I guess hadn't gotten either drafted or signed to go to college, but were great players in our area and got a chance to compete against each other and kind of show their talent.
One thing about Jim, I think he'd be the first one to admit, he played with a kid by the name of Legaspi and a kid by the name of Davis that a lot of people thought were as good, if not better than him.
My high school buddies, Matt Legaspi, Todd Davis, Daryl Klusendorf was our manager, I do believe, at the time.
Was his first opportunity as a high school player to play against the men. And I can tell you, he stepped right into the role and hit about 3 doubles off us that I think are still rolling.
Once somebody gets on somebody and the word gets out, well, then you got to go see. In other words, if somebody calls me and says, hey, Atlanta's looking at Joe Blow at ICC, have you seen him? No. Well, what do I do in the next week or two? I get over and look at Joe Blow at ICC too, just to protect my. In fact, I had a scout call me in the fall of Jimmy's after his senior year, and when he was going, asking me about specifically, did I miss on him? He was an area scout for Minnesota at the time by the name of Ellsworth Brown. I said, I think you did, Ellsworth, yeah. I said, so he saw him at ICC, and then that spring, then many teams were in to see him.
I didn't play against Jim Thome or Joe Girardi. Those guys were a little bit older. But I played against Mike Dunne.
It was a tough league. I mean, I knew it growing up. My first year I got to play, and it was my senior year in high school. I played for Daryl Klusendorf on his team, and we were called Todd Uniform at that time. And he signed me out of Limestone, put me on the team. I signed the contract, and I got my first taste of playing against the big boys.
Mike Dunne played for me at Todd's Uniform. I signed him out of high school. Actually, he was playing college baseball. He was in like a number 7 draft pick and headed for the Olympics, and he played a couple of games for me in the Sunday Morning League.
I was the 7th pick in the first round of '84, and then after the draft was over with, nobody signed. All the Olympic players, nobody signed a contract to receive your money or your bonus because you still had to be an amateur. So we waited till the end of the summer to sign the contract, but I played all summer long with the Olympic team still as an amateur, even though the Cardinals had drafted me. I would always talk to Tommy when I was still playing pro ball, and he would tell me the stories about the Sunday Morning League, about who was doing well, who had a great batting average, who was dominating as a pitcher, the teams that were doing well. He had turned into a manager at that time, and he had a long run of titles with Budweiser after Don Weiss turned over the ranks to him. I didn't play right away after I was finished professionally, but then he was the one that kept bugging me, hey, come on, play for our team, and I said, okay, we'll do it.
Mike Dunne, when he was done with his professional career, came back and pitched for Sprinkman. And I remember playing those guys, and I remember thinking, man, these old guys, we're going to kill them, No way. I mean, Mike Dunne was still just as nasty as he probably was in the major leagues.
He came about 7 games into the season, and we're probably piddling around there around 3 and 4, and we picked up ex-major leaguer here, and I think we won a start of a string of winning. I think we won 3 out of 4 straight championships.
I first started in the year 2000, and I was 18 years old. Mike Dunne called me at home and said, hey, you want to play Sunday Morning League? And I was a high school senior, and I'm like, absolutely, man. First of all, you're Mike Dunne. You know what I mean?
He'll give you a call or something on a Tuesday. Somebody will say, who was that? I'm like, oh, the rookie of the year for the Pirates back in the 80s.
He's a guy that was 3-4 years out of the big leagues, and he's calling me, asking me to play Sunday Morning League, and I'm like, absolutely, man. So first time I pitched with him on his team, Pitcher Perfect Exciting Windows, I was pitching. He was playing third base. I'm standing, I look over to him, I'm like, that's Mike Dunne over there. You know what I mean? I was like, this is the real deal.
I think he gave the league a lot of credibility at a time when it needed some credibility. And I give Mike a lot, and his brother Tommy, who are both Hall of Famers that in the league, give them both a lot of credit for maintaining a high level of competition within the Sunday Morning League.
Tom Dunne's a Hall of Honor member too, and you wouldn't think by looking at him, he's a baseball player. I'll tell you what, he's a great baseball player.
My first year in Sunday Morning League was 1983 summer. It was my senior year in high school summer, and I played for Don Weiss and United Ready Mix. And the reason I got on the team was my father, Dick Dunne, knew Don Weiss, and I got a tryout and made the team.
Don's a good friend. I coached with him out at Richwoods. To me, as Mr. Sunday Morning League, played for about 35 years.
Don Weiss was a competitor. I mean, that's what I respected with Don. And he went out and he got good players.
He could smell a good baseball player within 50 miles of Peoria. Every year, and we had good teams, we'd show up and there'd be a new face, and he'd found this kid, and he'd either be a pitcher or a shortstop or a catcher. And I think after a while they started finding him too, because they knew, he had the best teams, not every year, but over the years he had a lot of good teams.
Baseball was in Don's blood. He was Mr. Sunday Morning League for sure. He not only worked on Sunday Morning League as a player, manager, but he had a desk in our family room that was devoted strictly to Sunday Morning League. And so it wasn't just a summer thing. All winter long, this Sunday Morning League was in his blood.
My first year was 83, playing with Don. Don was already old. He was 40, probably 43 years old when I started playing with him, and I was maybe 19.
Don could still, when he was 50 years old, could still pitch a little bit. He couldn't run anymore. He could still hit. I think you just had to respect the kind of competitor Don Weiss was.
I was with Don every year, and he was the coach. And we played the last game together at Bradley. He was 52, and like I say, I was going to be 38. And he pitched that day because some of our college kids had gone back, and it was a 3-game series. We had won the first game, lost the second one on Sunday morning, and so this was a Sunday afternoon game. And I thought that was incredible because he could still pitch at that age. And he had great location, he had movement, knew how to pitch.
He played forever. He played 35 years. I can't imagine that. I got 14 more to go, and I'm trying to get through one more,
I think he would have played until he died if his body would have let him. Just because he quit Sunday Morning League didn't mean that his heart wasn't there anymore. He still went to games, but he just couldn't anymore, and he knew it. But all those records that he holds, our whole family is very proud of him. Very, very special man.
I actually have the database, the stats database on my home computer. So, everything I pull up as far as a leader goes, his name appears.
We have history, we have records intact from 1916. It's amazing.
I'd like to be the home run king. I think Chuck Thome Sr. holds the record, and he's held it for years.
He was working in the mines back then and also playing with the Peoria professional team. And he played with Phil Cavaretta.
He was a good hitter, strong man, like his son and then Jim later on. They were all big fellas.
He was in the Cub organization. He hurt his back. Him and Cavaretta was supposed to leave at the same time to go out east, and Dad hurt his back in the mine and couldn't make it.
By the time I was scorekeeper on Bradley number 2 Diamond, he was strictly manager, except I did see him pinch hit a few times.
He pretty much had every offensive record, home run, doubles, hits. He had them all.
I think I got it 4. Need to hit 4 this year to be second all time. which would be a feat in itself. I always tell myself I'd like to be number one on that list. But right now, the way everything's going in life, this is probably going to be my last season for a couple years. Maybe one day I'll come back in the league and maybe play with my kids. But for now, second place all time on the home run list. That's definitely my goal for this year.
I think when you look at records, I mean, even in baseball, I think the one thing that creates records is longevity, you know, and Mr. Weiss, my grandfather, you know, my Uncle Art, you know, I mean, they played a long time. So that obviously longevity creates that. And that's what's cool. Records are always made to be broken. And, you know, one of the cool things is, you know, that's what's kind of kept the Sunday Morning League, I think, so prestigious amongst the country, as you said, was the fact that longevity has prevailed itself. I mean, look how many years, 100 years, that's pretty neat.
You know, a lot of these players that have been in it for years, very passionate about the game, about what it is, how it's played.
There's a fraternity type feel to it. There's a whole language. The baseball lingo is beautiful.
So we gotta be deep in the count. We gotta reach base. We gotta make things happen. Just flying out. That boy, Fonz, make him think about it, baby. Okay. Hey! Good. All right, piece of hands.
Here we go now, Blum. What do you say, baby? Here we go, Blue.
Long way to go on this one still. Good spot.
Come on now. Here you go. Stay within yourself. Come on. Come on. New pitch. New pitch. That one's gone.
Let's go. This is the inning. Shut it down. Shut him down right here.
There's a couple teams like Miller Lite's team, with Brian Quinn at the helm. They're good every year. And you know why? Is because number one, he knows how to get young guys that are good and competitive. And number two, they got the old guys that know how to play baseball. You know, guys like John Santor, guys like Lance Erlichkin, Brian Quinn, that, you know, they come out every day, they're prepared, they know what to look for, and they can just do it still. You know, and those guys are the ones I love to compete against.
They're they've been the team to beat for, you know, the 5 years our team's existed.
With the friendly rivalry, it's one of those things that you know who you can talk to and who you can joke around with.
How do you feel about Miller Lite?
I drink Budweiser. It happens all the time. They just go down like a heat, man. Those pro guys do it all the time. Just dial another round your foot. I mean, I don't want him to get like hurt, but I wouldn't mind if he just didn't play the rest of the game. Some little ice would fix, you know. Get to put his feet up when he gets home. See if he can just do nothing. So like, that's the other reason I don't hit, because if that happened to me, my wife would be like, I told you not to hit. She'd be like, she would. She'd just be like, you're stupid for You are not cool. There it is. You're down now.
Feels good. I got one more to be second all time on my own, and I don't know if that first place is going to be in hand this year or not. We'll see. Just keep slugging away. Hopefully we win some games.
Doug Slusser, Mike Kraft, George Kruzik, those guys, again, they're Sunday Morning League legends, you know. Slew was the commissioner for a long time and president of this league, and Mike Kraft owns a ton of pitching records in the league, and then George Kruzik is, you know, one of the top 5 players ever to play in the Sunday Morning League.
So, you know, we're sitting here at Glen Oak Park. I mean, we played a lot of years here together, the 3 of us.
Yeah,
and primarily with Illinois Furniture.
Right.
And it's funny, you know, you're wearing that hat.
Nice.
It's
These were the Yaz special issues every year.
who owned Illinois Furniture. Great guy, great sponsor. Sponsored the league for
longest
50 plus years.
He was the longest 10-year sponsor.
You know, and I know every time I went in there to shop at the store, he'd always want to know, you know, when we're going to win it next. But he didn't have much on the. I don't know if he bought the hats, but he had to.
His budget was small.
Right.
So his Oakland A's budget.
So many years in a row, we got these hats, but they're really golf hats. And we always joked about that, but at the end of the day, he wanted to win.
When I managed, he would call me, and I'd have to go in and talk with him before
Oh,
the start of the
really?
season about who's going
Yeah.
to start at first,
You wanna
who's
go over
starting
every-
at second,
you wanna go every
what's his
position on the
strengths,
team.
what's his weaknesses,
He
every
didn't like our
position.
third baseman because he threw off balance.
Oh, really?
He came to a playoff game.
Who was it?
Andy.
Andy
He
Mulberry?
came to a playoff game, and he fielded one across the diamond and didn't set his feet and threw it about 5 feet over the first baseman's head, and Yaz would not let go of that. Years later, what about that third baseman? Threw it over his head.
There's probably been about 120 sponsors overall, ranging from Hiram Walker's Keystone to Illinois Furniture,
Pabst Blue Ribbon,
Sprinkman,
Bagley Brothers,
Cohen's Furniture, Miller High Life.
Picture Perfect.
The greatest name in the league, Flat Tire Company.
Just some great dynasties too. United Ready Mix won 3 champions as United Ready Mix, then became Budweiser, won 3 more, so I think they hold the record for 6 consecutive.
Companies in town, that time was called Gips. They were a big sponsor. Caterpillar was a big sponsor.
In 1927 through 1959, Caterpillar won 13 titles. And they were kind of, I always thought of them as like the Yankees of the Sunday Morning League. And anytime they lost, it was a big event almost.
Are you pretty knowledgeable about the history of the Sunday Morning League?
The Sunday Morning League, it started as 6 teams, businesses who wanted to, give their guys some outside of the normal workday recreation. When Caterpillar got involved, I mean, it was very publicized. They would hire employees to come to work for Cat to play on their sports team, which is so cool.
So what's going to blow you away is we have film. I believe it's from the Sunday Morning League.
I can't wait to see that.
They came to Cap because Cap gave opportunities in, from the 30s and forward that other companies weren't, where they could play what they thought was professional ball because they had, their own clubhouse and they had their own locker room and they had their own trainer and all those types of things.
They played a lot more games than the other teams in the Sunday Morning League, which probably helped them.
No one's ever seen that, really, other than people in this room and a couple other people, so.
They had their own schedule. They played both at Tom Connor Field and on the road against other teams.
The Kansas City Monarchs used to come in. They'd come in, Cat would bring them in a couple times a year. They would play exhibition over at Tom Connor. Ernie Banks did, and Gene Baker, and Satchel Paige. When I played with Cat, we went to Wichita for the U.S. tournament, and they used to have elimination in Elgin, and we won that. We went over to Wichita, and Willie Hightower was our center fielder. Willie was black, and Warren Womble was the manager then. We walked in this hotel, and we always had a traveling secretary went ahead of us, and his name was Walt Lewis. He come back to Womble. He said, "There's a problem." He said, "Why?" He said, "Willie can't stay here." So Womble up and told him, he says, "If he don't stay, we don't stay, we're gone." And the guy said, "Well, I'll see you." And that was my say breaking in on just what them guys had to put up with to play baseball.
Back in, I would guess about 1946, Bruce Sowers was managing one of the teams, went to the meetings, which were at either Portman's or Keenan's, one of the sporting goods stores downtown where they held their meetings. And after the meetings were over, they'd play a little cards and do baseball talk. But anyway, Bruce Sowers was at the meeting and he said, "Is the regular Sunday Morning League meeting closed?" And Ed Sowers said, "Yeah, we're done with our meeting." And Bruce said, "I'm not asking permission. I'm not seeking any fame or fortune, but I've got a player from Peoria High. He's a senior, and he happens to be a black athlete. He said he's starting tomorrow." He said, "I'm not asking, I'm just telling."
I know Bruce personally, and unfortunately he passed away a couple years ago, but there's no question that Bruce would do something like that, yes.
Some of the best times at the ballpark were before, after, during the game. There was a guy who would patrol the stands named Royce Elliott. And Royce would, he was a walking joke book, the famous comedian.
Royce was kind of the local celebrity of the league, for no better word. The man that would come around and entertain the people.
I went to school with Billy. He was in the 8th grade for 2 terms, Truman and Eisenhower. We were in English class. The teacher said, "You know Edgar Allan Poe's Raven?" He said, "No, what's he mad about?"
Royce's children, his sons played in the Sunday Morning League, and so one of his sons was on my brother's team. And so I would be there watching my brother Ed play, and Royce was in the stands.
I remember growing up, Dad, since he knew he could find a captive audience at either Bradley or Glen Oak, we were going there every Sunday. And when I was little, the fans used to be lined up all around Bradley Park and Glen Oak Park, and we just go work the crowd.
After some discussion, it was determined that the naming of the Glen Oak Park ball field after Royce would be an appropriate and fitting honor.
We are here to name this field after Royce Elliott Field. I'm sure if we closed our eyes and listened to the wind blowing through the trees, we could hear Royce running, we could hear him hitting the ball, and most importantly, we could hear him telling jokes.
Glen Oak Park and Bradley Park had been the home for years and years and years, and there were 2 diamonds at each park, and so you played, one game at each diamond every Sunday. So you had your 4 games. There were always 8 teams.
The 2 diamonds at Glen Oak and at Bradley were pretty rustic, you might say. There was no infield grass, bare dirt like it is now.
And they were a little bit gritty, I guess you could say, the fields were, and we kind of like that. The mounds weren't that great. They didn't have fences all the time, and it was like, that's all right. This is still playing baseball.
But Glen Oak, the center fielders would overlap a little bit, but not too much. I mean, those fields were set pretty far apart.
It was a unique thing when you got diamonds back to back, and we're center fielders out there talking to each other and, chit-chatting, and it was exciting to watch some of the other game going on sometimes. If they're, between innings, you're warming up in the outfield and so forth. Sometimes when there was a ball hit from one diamond to the other, there had to be time called while a ball rolled maybe into the infield.
Like you'd be playing on 1, there'd be a ball hit off a 2, and it would come down there, and you'd be like, who in the world hit that? Where did that come from?
You'd be watching a game, and all of a sudden, here comes a player at full speed from batting number 1 diamond, over onto your diamond, chasing a ball over his head.
I never hit a ball to the other field, but what I'm saying is, yeah, there was some unique things.
And at Bradley Park, it was the right and left fielders that had the overlap, because those diamonds were set at a little different angles, but the right and left fielders would be playing opposite each other all the time and could be quite a ways apart from each other.
There were no fences to hit it over at either park. And especially at Bradley was hard because of those hills. Left-handed batter hitting in Bradley number 2 would have the same problem. He had to hit the ball over the hill. He'd have to run up the hill onto the road to be a home run.
My first game, I was always an infielder, and Darryl, we had a great team, and Jerry Briggs was playing short, real good player. I mean, I don't mean to interrupt, but back in that day, just because you were there doesn't mean you had to earn your way. Yeah, you had to earn your way. So he puts me out in left field, and we're at Bradley Park, and he says, "Now go out there and put this ball." We're on number 2, which down the edge was woods. Right. And there was a foul pole right before the woods. He goes, "Put that ball right in the edge of the woods." And I said, "What do you want me to do that for?" He goes, "Well, if it goes on this side of the foul pole, it's all you can get. If it goes on that side, it's a double. So put that ball in there. If it goes on that side and goes in the wood, you can run in and grab that ball and throw it in real quick." So that was one of the tricks that Darryl taught me. I think we were playing Corey's, and Jake Smith came up, and they had a good team. They had a bunch of good hitters, and I'm not sure what inning it was, but Jake Smith came up, good player, good hitter, and I threw him a changeup, and he unloaded on one, and it left this field. And at the time, there was a small tree out there just before the road, and I don't know how far that is, but it's got to be 375, 400 out there, and it bounced in the street. I mean, you know, remember how you could see it? Yeah. You knew if it was a homer, if it took the big hop. Well, just before it hit the street, it nicked the tree. And as he's rounding first, I mentioned to the umpire, just casually, I wasn't even thinking anything was going to change. I go, "That hit the tree." That's all I said. And the next thing I know, the 2 umpires are talking, and about after 2 minutes, they decided it was a ground rule triple. And of course, Jake was upset, and Ryan Alexander was livid.
He was the manager, right?
Yeah, Ryan was the manager, and he was livid. So Jake's standing on third, and I ended up pitching out of that inning, and they didn't score.
Well, I think we ended up winning the game.
Oh, we won the game, yeah. Yeah, so he wasn't happy about that one.
There's no question. Way back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, I mean, the Peoria Sunday Morning League, it was the hot ticket. My dad tells me stories about how he would go when he was 5 years old. He'd go and watch his Uncle Wally play in the Sunday Morning League, and there would be nearly 1,000 fans that come and watch the games.
There were times back in the 40s, 30s even, when the crowds were 4 deep.
They used to talk about the crowds. They had to rope off people in the 50s and 40s to go see the Sunday Morning League.
The lines would go right from one game to the other to where, you know, the guy didn't have a good seat. You know, he'd be standing all the time, although they did have a few bleachers and that, but it was mostly standing the whole time.
There was always 2 games going on at Bradley Park, and there was 2 games going on up at Glen Oak every Sunday morning. So one of them would cover one diamond. A guy by the name of Lou Williams did all the stats. Bill Lighty from the Journal-Star helped a lot.
And there was a bunch of guys, and they all hustled really hard every day.
There was Bruce Sowers, his father.
Ed, my dad, was really, really good friends.
Harold Lintz was the president. Just a lot of good guys that were around the game, and just kind of added to the lore of the game, I guess I would say.
They all had their cigar boxes walking around the ballparks and taking collection up to pay the umpires and stuff.
You know, people would kind of check out whichever game was the premium game of the day, and the competition was absolutely fierce.
The games were broadcasted on the radio. They were covered in the newspaper.
The Journal-Star covered it so well in the sports. I mean, my goodness, the pictures and the Sunday Morning League, like I said, that was something, boy, if I could get into, I thought, man, I must be something if I could play Sunday Morning League.
It was a pinnacle. I mean, the Sunday Morning League was it. It was great. I had no idea that I was going to go to the levels I have reached. So looking back, it was a very good foundation, a good base for me to get experience from and get better.
We just couldn't wait to have a chance to play in the Sunday Morning League.
Sunday Morning League was was my major leagues.
Welcome back. The Peoria Sunday Morning Baseball League is celebrating its 100th anniversary with two very special games.
Tim Cundiff, the president of the Peoria Sunday Morning League, and you're hoping a lot of people come out for a special game where the mayor and the Chiefs president, Rocky Vanaken, are involved. Tell us about that.
It's a community-driven league, and so we're going to welcome the community out to Dozer Park on Saturday.
Tim Cundiff and Rocky Vanaken of the Peoria Chiefs. And tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Talked to Rocky Vanaken and came up with the idea of hosting a special event at Dozer Park. That's this weekend, Saturday at 5 o'clock. The event starts with an alumni game. We've got a whole bunch of veterans who played in the league in the 80s, 90s, and will be lacing their cleats back up to play another competitive game of baseball.
This is kind of in preparation for us to go out to Arizona every year. There's a group of us that actually play on this team and a few on the others that go out to Arizona and participate in what they call the World Series of Baseball. All these guys I either played with or played against, and I was fortunate enough to be able to call them all up on the phone and ask them to play, and they all said yes.
Is there anybody on the team you'd especially like to meet?
All of them, yeah. As far as I'm concerned, none of them will get a hit, but we'll see what happens. That's the game of baseball. You never know what's going to happen.
They'll get, I'd say, two ground balls to shortstop.
Old Gophers living the dream. Wood bats and baseballs and the diamond so green. Hot dogs and hound dogs long in the tooth. Under the lights, 3 strikes and the truth. They're pushing 60, that's not miles per hour. They swing for the fences with warning track power. Wishing and hoping, relight the torch. Can run with the big dogs or sleep on the porch.
We were playing at Glen Oak Zoo. You were pitching.
Yes.
I was a runner at first base, and
Yes.
Tom Dunne was batting.
Yes.
And he hit a line drive off of your head.
Off the beam.
And it actually ended up in right field.
Right field.
I mean, it
That's
was a
right.
shot. You went out cold.
They told me to go to the ambulance. I said, okay. My fiance at the time took me home. I faked like I fell down the stairs, and she comes running. She thought I'd
Awesome.
Well, we had Todd Uniform had his greatest year back in the early 80s with a chance to win the championship against United Ready Mix. We had pitcher Troy Girdler that was 9-0. Brett Zahner was 8-1. Rick Dismal was 5-3. And Clue pulled the stunt to fake the other team out, decided to start himself, the knuckleballer, against United Ready Mix. They got 7 in the first. Then Clue gave himself the hook and brought our other guys in. We lost 7-6 in the championship. One of the greatest management moves of all time. I've never seen a team get so jacked up for a game and then get deflated when the lineup card. I got to qualify the Clue was a great leader, a great manager. We had a great time with Todd Uniform. Legend in the game.
You know, it's been 30 or 40 years since I played. And, you know, you get together and some of the same memories pop up, and it's a shared experience. And, you know, the guys that played in the league can stand pretty tall because, it's not just everybody that wants to play that gets to play. You have to earn your spurs.
Run with the big dogs or sleep on the porch.
When I was a kid, we didn't have Peoria Chiefs baseball. We didn't have a minor league team. So Sunday Morning League was still really a huge spectator deal back in the day. So I used to go watch both of my basketball coaches play, another guy that worked at one of the high schools here in town as a coach. So to go see those guys, I mean, I really looked up to those guys back when I was in grade school, going to see my coaches play in the league, and that smell of pine tar. Whenever I smell it, I still think of those days down at Bradley Park and Glen Oak Park and chasing foul balls, and they'd give me a brand new baseball at the end of the day. So to have watched the league as a kid and then to play in it as an adult was a real thrill for me.
League was kind of transitional then. A little, there's violence. There's some rebels in that league, and it was a tough league. And if you didn't. It was nothing for arguments to break out, fights, side fights, till probably the mid-90s, 2000, and things started kind of cleaning up a little bit there.
It got cleaned up.
Yeah.
The managers, the sponsors, the umpires got together and said, "Hey, you know, if this is going to continue, we got to do it right." And weeded out a lot of the garbage and started playing real ball. And it reflected in the league. Some very good players, some great sponsors who were part of the league for a long time, and some good presidents along the way as well. It got cleaned up pretty good.
It never died out, unfortunately, and it continued. But it got to the point where you'd go to a game and you might see a guy out there that didn't even have a uniform on. You know, and for some of us Sunday Morning League, that's sacrilegious. You know, you would hear forfeits.
There were some people that held this thing together when it was really hanging by a thread.
I think Daryl Klusendorf was involved in that group. George Kruchek out of Morton. The big tall guy, Doug Slusser. Doug Slusser would probably have to take as much. It wouldn't take it, but it probably deserves as much credit as anybody.
A few people could have just let the thing go, and I think it may have just stopped at that point. But there were people, and Daryl here is one of them, that wouldn't let it go.
I am excited about the future. Tim Cundiff and the guys that he's working with have a passion for the game, but they also share a desire to preserve the history.
Since he's gotten involved in being an officer in the league, he's just been tremendous.
The league has been consistent, whether we still have 1,000 fans that show up to the games or whether we have a few dozen show up on a early morning or a gloomy, rainy Wednesday night when there's storms in the forecast. You could be playing a game and there might be more guys on the field than there are in the bleachers, okay? The league has persisted. Whether there's fans there or not, the games still go on. The show must go on.
In my early days when I played with Miller, you know, we were coached by Terry Elmore. And Terry is a go-get-'em kind of guy. And he's high energy. And I don't know if you guys remember, but on Sunday mornings, you could call this Miller hotline to see if we were going to play, if it was raining. But he'd say, I'm out at Glen Oak Park. It's 6 a.m. Field's a little wet, but there will be baseball. And you could call it every Sunday and find out, you know, whether or not we're going to play or not. And games always start at 9, but he was out here early first thing to check the field, make sure it was ready to go.
You know, it's for the love of the game, and doing this stuff in front of 5 fans or 200 fans or whatever it is in the PSML, the feeling's a little different, but I get to do it in front of my kids and in front of my wife. And I think that it's more of a big deal to me because I won't be able to play the rest of my life. You know, I'm not probably gonna be playing this league in the next couple of years. You know, my kids are growing up. I want to watch them play, and I want to golf some more. So I think it's very rewarding to do something like that, especially in front of my kids.
We've got fathers and sons playing on the same team. We've got fathers playing and sons being the bat boy. We've got families that come to support. That's how I started going to watch my brother play back in the 90s. That's how my awareness of the league began, was as a spectator, as a fan. And it's great to see that tradition continue with all the fans that come to support.
That's always been our family. Sunday Morning League's always been.
Guys hear about it from their dad. You know,
Dad started managing Bagley Brothers, and Art and I both started playing with Bagley Brothers at that time because we wanted to do it too. The Cubs and the White Sox were giving us train tickets to go up there, and they'd pick him up. Art was hitting the balls on the Wayland Avenue when he's 16 years old in Wrigley Field. And I was one proud brother, believe me.
And that bond that baseball brings to families is like no other. I mean, that's what the Morning League has done for this community.
Well, it was cool because
I was in right field.
Yeah,
I got a lot of action, a lot of foul balls.
I'm pitching to a lot of right-handed hitters, and they're late, and Tommy cleaned up all the messes out there and did a great job. And it was our first time
together on a team, and we went on a very nice run, winning championships.
Baseball has been a big part of our family. You know, it really has. Our kids that played, our grandchildren, Gary and I.
It was very special because Ron and I say we're only a year and a half apart.
There was a ball that I never wanted to see fall in front of me. I dove for everything.
He had the uncanny ability to run for a fly ball in the outfield, and it looked like it was going to drop, and right at the last, he could time that jump and get it.
Gary had a little bit more ability. He didn't have to dive for some balls that I probably had to.
He always supported me a lot, and it was just a neat thing.
When we got the Sunday Morning League, we were just hoping to play in the league. We didn't have any aspirations that we'd be players that would be considered of the highest honor in the league. That isn't why we played the game. You know, we played the game because we loved it. But, you know, I think there's no better honor than past players or maybe officials in the league that picked these players to be in the Hall of Honor. For me to get selected, and my brother, I think there's only one other or two other families, the Thomes and maybe the Dunnes.
He has the 6th most RBIs in the league history with 302. And he was inducted to the National Semi-Pro Hall of Fame in 2013. And as a player and a coach in the Sunday Morning League, he has 12 titles as a player or a coach. So I'd like to bring up my brother, Tom Dunne.
I'm more honored that I got to play in it, yes, but that I got to carry my family, our family tradition, because I know what it meant to my father, and I know what it meant to my grandfather.
Dad and Art was so close as far as talent-wise, they could both just break. They both could hit. I come up last in the total. Although I did win a batting title and an MVP out there, but still, I wasn't in their class.
My uncle, through rumors, never heard, but maybe one of the best hitters that ever came out of Peoria. So that makes me feel proud.
Couldn't really ask for a better, four teams to end the season with. The 4 Peoria teams that are kind of the original guys from last year and seasons past. The last 4 winners of the Sunday Morning League are right here. We won it back in 2011. Cruisins last year, Chase the year before, and Veldy the year before that. So, this is kind of 100th year. Kind of comes down to who's the best in the last 5 years, I guess you could say.
25 years ago today. Yeah, in the playoffs, 1990 playing for Miller. I had a 3-run homer and 4 RBI. We won the first game of the playoffs. But then we lost in the championship series. Me hitting a homer is not going to happen this time either. I can guarantee that.
One of the games we had this year, I think it was the 3rd inning, and my dad made the first out, a diving catch and left, and I had like a diving play for the 3rd out of that inning, so it's kind of cool that both have two good plays the same inning. I thought that was pretty cool.
Getting to watch him play and play alongside him has been incredible. I like having not being the manager, because I managed for 11 years, trying to get players here and getting all the stuff here. I'll leave that to Brian Quinn now. I can just come and watch and get a couple at bats a week and get to watch my son play. Doesn't get any better than that.
Playoff time, ready to go. Nothing better than facing the second best pitch in McCarthy over there. That's the best way to do it.
Let's go. Let's get it done. Facing their #1 pitcher, so already talking about what I'm gonna do when I hit a homer off him.
And he said to me, "Hey man, you going tonight?" I said, "Yeah, John, I got the whole game, man. You better watch out." And he said, "Listen, if you strike me out, you can celebrate any way you want. But if I hit a home run on you, the bat is going 30 feet in the air." I said, "Well, I ain't worried about that because it's not gonna happen.
You know, we kind of got behind there. We got behind 1-0. I think the kid hit a home run, and then he scored another run. And some of us are kind of looking at each other like, here we go again. You know, we're down behind in the playoffs.
I'm like, we got this, guys. I'm not giving up any runs.
So then, you know, it's 2-0, and I come up with 2 outs.
Like, hits off his glove, goes over the fence, and it's a home run. I'm like, I don't give up home runs. What's the deal with this?
Guys start thinking, okay, maybe that's the break we need. You know, you just need a break. Shoot, we got to 2 strikes in the 7th from, you know, we're 1 strike away from losing. And Jesse gets that base hit up the middle to tie it, and you're just like, okay, here we go. We're back. You know, we're going to win this thing. Shoot, they scored the run in the 8th to make it 3-2, and you're like, oh my gosh, are we going to be able to do this again? We had to string together maybe three hits in a row, or 3 out of 4 batters had to get hits for us to score, and that happened. We tied it up, and then in the 9th, you know, we held them. We're like, okay, if we can get to Santor, maybe we got a shot to just end this thing right now.
At Bradley, my junior year, I was a closer. I led the team in saves. And my first year playing professionally in Italy, I was a closer. I'm like, I got this. I'm a closer. I know how to do this.
First 2 guys get out. I come up to bat. Hit one in the gap, you know. I'm thinking, okay, I can get a double out of this. And my legs, both legs, just in my calves, just cramp up instantaneously, simultaneously, and I have to stop at first. And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I gonna be able to continue to play? I said, okay, I'll try it out, you know. I'm thinking Santor's up, you know, hopefully he can hit one where I won't have to run the bases. And that's what I said to the second baseman at the time. I'm like, after I got done stretching, I was like, man, hopefully he just hits one where I don't have to run the bases.
I had struck him out the previous 2 at-bats on 3 straight pitches.
First pitch, he takes it. I think it was a strike.
But good hitters know how to adjust. Hung a slider in there, and he hit a 500-foot home run.
That was probably the best game all year.
Oh, great. Yeah, my number all night. Left a couple pitches up and I missed them, but I got that one. Oh, it was a hell of a win. It's a good team effort, battle for, 10 innings. So, hey, at least I could do my part. Get us out of here.
At least I was part of an epic game, you know, and I know I'll get them next time, and I will. Trust me, John, I will.
We faced Cruisins, and they're kind of almost our biggest rival, and everybody knows each other, all really good friends with each other, and so it's you know each other's tendencies. Somebody like Jake Smith, Brad Meyer, just a lot of guys on that team that are very good, really good pitching.
The regular season, you know, you want to win every game. That's the goal, but the main thing is just get a chance in the playoffs, and anything can happen. Especially last year, we were the 4th seed out of 4 teams, and ended up winning the championship. So we're looking to repeat this year.
Up 1-0 in the series, but long way to go to the next round, even to the next game. Hopefully we can stay up, get this win tonight.
We had a pretty bad showing of our offense last night, but I think we show up tonight.
We've got one of our better pitchers going tonight. They've got one of their better pitchers too. Jake Smith, definitely been a force as long as he's been in the league. It's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to the last couple innings, in my opinion.
It gets a little tighter. That's something we can do. We're up 3-0. We're hitting.
You're sitting in the dugout, you're talking to the guys in there, and you know kind of where you have to pitch these guys. you try and hit spots, and you see in a certain count, you say, hopefully we can do this, otherwise something's going to happen. And we ended up giving him a pitch just too good that he made us pay for, and
kind of felt like I ran into one, kind of blind squirrel found a nut. Luckily there's 4 nuts, but lucky. It's how it is every year. You think something's scripted and nothing is, so anytime anybody can give an effort. Might be a freshman in college, could be a 10-year veteran, but it's here to win, man. A lot of pride on the line.
Let's go, Matt. Now you got to respond. We saved our ace, or our 1A or second ace. Once we took the lead there late, I was pretty confident we were going to hang on to it.
Walter White threw a hell of a game 1. I think it was a no-hitter against us.
I mean, when your team puts that many runs, it makes my job a lot easier out there. You can relax and throw more strikes.
There's no holes in that lineup that you make a mistake, they're going to make you pay.
All those guys who've worn the Sunday Morning League jerseys in the past 100 years have represented them. Walter, Mr. No-No, huh?
Feels amazing. I mean, it's been a while. It's been since 2011. We wanted to win it this year so bad.
This is the goal. This is the dream. This is why you play the game.
If you still have fire in your belly and you still have passion for the game, then play.
It's great baseball. It's better than high school baseball. It's better than some of even the collegiate leagues.
It's a great game. It really is. It's a great game. It's something I definitely want to pass on to my kids.
Yeah, I'm 67 years old and still enjoy hearing some of the stories and telling some of the stories about this great game of baseball.
2015 champion Miller Lite Falcons!
The game is great, and then, of course, I got 15, 16, 17 best friends for 3 months, that I get to hang around with.
What a great time in our lives. We got to be a part of it.
Sunday Morning League was unbelievable.
I see a tremendous future for the Sunday Morning League.
There's no doubt in my mind that this league has a lot of potential to carry on into the future.
Making sure that it's competitive, making sure that people come out and watch.
I just want to keep baseball going in our family.
Who knows? Maybe I can have my son play and carry the tradition on at some point. That'd be nice.
I just want to congratulate the Sunday Morning League on 100 years of playing baseball. It was a big part of my life, and I used to play every Sunday on the weekends when I was in high school, and it gave me an opportunity to improve. I played against older players that the competition was better than what I was used to, and was a big part of me moving up through the ranks and becoming a professional ball player. So to the Sunday Morning League, I thank you for allowing me to be a part of your 100-year tradition.